Hello again, my friends. It is the last week of Advent. That means in a few days, Christmas will be here. As you can see, all the candles are lit on my Advent wreath. The season of Advent is almost finished, and Christmas Day will be here soon. It's so hard to believe. Are you ready? Are you excited? I know I am. I'm very excited to spend Christmas with my family and just get to take time to reflect and be quiet and think about Jesus coming into the world and how God showed us his love by sending Jesus and the story of his birth. So today, for our last week of Advent, we are going to be talking about love. So remember, our first week was hope. Our second week was peace. Last week, our pink candle was joy. And this week, we talk about love. So I have a question to start. I want you to think about a time when you looked forward to an event or something really special happening. Okay? Are you thinking of it? I know I am. Did you ever look forward to that time, or maybe another time, and imagine how it would go and think about how great it would be and how exciting it would be, and in the end, it didn't happen the way you expected it would? Maybe it was a family vacation. Maybe it was going to summer camp. Maybe it was the first day of school, a special event or a holiday, a birthday, and didn't quite go the way that you wanted it to. You would imagined it one way, and the way that it happened wasn't necessarily bad. It was just different than what you thought it would be. It's easy for us to feel disappointed when things don't happen the way that we've planned. It's happened to me lots of times in my life. But sometimes, if we're so lost in what we wanted something to be, and we feel frustrated about it, it's easy to miss out on what it actually was and the experience that we actually had. We end up closing our hearts to what is happening or what could happen in the future instead of appreciating that moment for the special thing that it was, even if it was different than what we expected it to be, and even if it didn't go the way we wanted it to. So that's what happened in our story. I know we've all heard the birth of Jesus, that story a lot of times, but we're going to talk about it again because the more we hear a story, the more we remember it, and we learn different things that we didn't know before. So today we're going to pick up where we left off last week. So we're still in Luke chapter 2. And as you remember last week, we heard about how Mary and Joseph go to Bethlehem for the census that they had to be a part of. And while they were traveling, Mary gives birth to baby Jesus. And after that happens, some angels go and visit the shepherds in the field. Remember, our friends, the shepherds, and tell them that the Savior has been born in the city of David. So this is where our story picks up in Luke chapter 2. And I'm going to read verses 15 to 20. When the angels returned to heaven, the shepherds said to each other, "Let's go right now to Bethlehem and see what's happened. Let's confirm what the Lord has revealed to us." They went quickly and found Mary and Joseph and the baby lying in the manger. When they saw this, they reported what they had been told about this child. Everyone who heard it was amazed at what the shepherds told them. Mary committed these things to memory and considered them carefully. The shepherds returned home, glorifying and praising God for all that they had heard and seen. Everything happened just as it had been told. So in our story of Jesus' birth, they don't go anywhere fancy to have their baby. Baby wasn't born in a hospital like most of us were. I know I was. Some people are born at home. Wasn't born in a hospital, wasn't born at home, wasn't even born in a regular like building with a room, with bed, none of that. Born in a stable. And Mary used a manger, which, if you've seen before in church, it's like that wooden box. It's actually something that animals eat out of. And so they laid him in a manger with some hay. There's animals everywhere. And as they were trying to rest, because it had been a long journey, and then Mary had a baby, I'm sure they were exhausted. Some shepherds show up out of nowhere. They come traipsing in to meet them. So if I was Mary, I'd probably be thinking, this isn't exactly how I imagined having my first baby. You would expect to probably back then be at home. You would have your family with you, like your mom would be with you probably, or someone, close to you. Your other family would be waiting excitedly until the baby was born. I don't know if for any of you, if you remember when maybe a younger sibling or a younger family member was born, like going to the hospital and meeting them and like everyone looks happy and cozy in, the hospital. None of that happened for her. And I'm sure as she's sitting there trying to rest and these shepherds come in, she may have been thinking and could have said, "No, please leave. I'm exhausted. I don't want to be bothered. Why are you here?" She could have asked all of these questions and told them to leave and sent them on their way. But instead, Mary chose to have an open heart and she invites them in to see baby Jesus. And she chose to listen to them. Probably they shared with her the story of how these angels appeared and told them what happened and told them where they were and the whole thing. And then they left to share the good news that they had learned with all the people around them. Probably went out and shared it with other shepherds, people that they knew in the city. And it tells us in the Bible that Mary took all these things and kept them in her memory and thought about them carefully. And in other versions of the story or different versions of the Bible, the words that are used are, she pondered them in her heart. So she kind of took all these different, this experience, all these different things that happened and the things that she was seeing and hearing, and she took them and kept them in her memory and in her heart and reflected on those things. So for Mary, Jesus' birth probably didn't go as planned. We have had times in our life where things don't go as planned. And sometimes those experiences can make you feel what? Maybe sad or afraid, maybe a little angry. And we kind of have a choice at that point. We can either take our heart and we lock it up tight and we say, well, I'm not going to get excited and I'm not going to get my hopes up and I'm not going to be open to anything new because when I do, it doesn't turn out right. We can do that, or we can allow our hearts to just be open and be open to the experience that we are having and keeping an open heart to maybe, even though this hasn't gone the way I wanted it to, something really good could happen. Something good that I didn't expect could happen. If I keep my heart open, this experience may not be exactly what I thought, but it still could be really good and I could still learn something from it, or God could be speaking to me through this experience. There's this old, kind of like a story or an example that someone told me once that kind of relates to this. It's, let's say you find a flower, a really, really beautiful flower, and you love it, and you pick it or you cut it or something, and you love it so much and you think it's so beautiful and you don't want it to get ruined. So you hold on to it really, really, really tight. But if we hold on too tight, the flower can get crushed because we were trying so hard to protect it or so hard to keep it from being ruined or messed up that we end up crushing that thing. But if we have our hand open or loose around our flower as we hold it so that we can share it with other people and show other people, then the flower doesn't get crushed. So in Mary and Joseph's story, Mary kept her heart open to the unexpected, and she chose to show love. She showed love to the shepherds, and they in turn went out and shared what they had experienced with others. Because they were showed love and compassion, they wanted to go and share what had happened to them. Choosing love can not only change us for the better, but it then in turn changes the world for the better. If we're open to people and experiences, then they experience the love and the compassion that we're showing, and then they go out and they show it to others, and it just keeps on going. And that's how we change the world, by being open and loving, not closed up and angry or afraid. So some things that I want you to think about this week is, what do you think it was like for Mary after Jesus was born? What do you think she was feeling or thinking? What are some of the things that she maybe felt worried or afraid about? And what do you think helped her to choose love? Can you think of a time when things didn't go the way that you expected? And maybe because of that, it made you feel afraid. Maybe share the story with your family or whoever you're watching this video with. Did you choose love in that situation? Can you imagine how things may have gone differently if you had been open to love instead of trying to close yourself off? And then your challenges for this week as we approach Christmas is to think about one way that you can choose love this week. How can you choose to show love instead of being closed off and kind of hiding because of how you feel? And I want you to check in with someone, mom and dad or a family member or a sibling, or you can always send me a message and tell me about your experience, and I'll check in with you that way. So choosing love and being open instead of being closed, because the more open we are, the more love that comes to us, and then the more love that goes out. So this week, to wrap up our Advent experience, we have one last activity to do together. And because we are talking so much about love, and love is something that we are to treasure and to experience, but also share, we are going to make a love treasure, kind of like a letter, or almost like an open treasure box of love. And so what you're going to need is you can use a piece of construction paper, because it looks pretty. You could also just use computer paper, regular paper. You're going to need some scissors and some glue or some tape. And this week, you should have gotten a printout that looks like this with some different items to color in. And as you can see, we're going to cut them out. I already started to cut out some of mine. So this is how we're going to do it, because we're going to make it look kind of like almost like a letter. It'll have a flap, so it almost kind of looks like an open letter, or like a half open box that you're going to open. And I'm going to show you how to fold your paper so that it looks right. So you're going to take your piece of paper and you're going to hold it long ways like this. And what you're going to do is you're going to fold each of the corners down to the middle like this. Almost like if you're making a paper airplane, how you would start a paper airplane. So you take one corner and you fold it down to the middle. And then you take the other corner and fold it down to the middle. And I'll show you what that looks like. So it looks like this. Mine's a little uneven, but that's okay. So when you have your pieces up, you want to fold it down so that the corner meets the middle of the page. And then you do it to the other side too. So once you do that, you're going to take the whole triangle that you have up here, and you're going to fold it down so that the tip of the triangle meets the bottom of the piece of paper. So I had it like this, and then I folded it so that the top of the triangle meets the bottom of the paper. So it looks kind of like an envelope, right? Perfect. So now you're going to take your cutouts after you color them and decorate them and whatnot, and we're going to put them on our treasure letter. So the first part I'm going to do so I can show you is this piece, because this piece will actually go on this flap. And so I wanted to do that with you so you could see what it looks like. So I'm going to cut mine out really quickly. Okay. So cut mine out, and you can use tape or glue, works better. And you're going to put it on your flap so that it'll line up like that. It's not straight, but you want it to look like this. So I'm going to get my stuff ready, and I'm going to adhere it on here. I will say, I have really liked doing all these little special things over the last few weeks, because I'm someone that really, I like things, like visual things that I can look at that remind me of something special or remind me to stop and think about something. So having all these little things like our chain link that we made and our scrolls and now our like treasure letter, seeing them helps me to stop and pause and think about the experience that we had and the things that we talked about. Okay, so I now have my flap part on. Ta-da! I use tape. It doesn't look as great because I misplaced my glue stick. So use glue. It looks a little better. And now there's all these other shapes on there too, like hearts and diamonds and stars and stuff, and you can decorate the outside and like even the inside parts of this. And the most important piece is our little circle that says choose love. So I'm going to add that next so you can see where it's supposed to go, because we want to put this on the inside of our letter underneath the flap so that when we are having a bad day, or maybe we're having a bad moment, or we just want to, again, have a reminder to stop and pause, we can open the flap and we can be reminded to choose love. So I'm going to show you where that goes. All right, so I put mine, if you lift your flap, there's my choose love. You could also put it up here if you want to too. I almost thought about doing that, but I wanted to have it on this part. And then I want you to take all your other little color cutouts and I want you to decorate. And you can add other decorations too. If you have sequins, if you want to add glitter, parents love when you use glitter. You could do beads or pom-poms or draw things, whatever you want to add to it. I'm just going to add a couple of my decorations. Have any of you been doing like Christmas crafts over the last few weeks? Some things to hang up and decorate around home. Do any of you make presents for people in your family, like crafts for your parents or your grandparents or whoever? I know I did when I was a kid. My grandparents had ornaments like well into when I was in high school and college that I made when I was a kid that they still put on their Christmas tree. It's very sweet. Okay, so I put some of mine on, and don't forget to add yours. And I would love to see any pictures you have of your projects that you've made. I would love to see them and be able to hang them up um, and see how you all have done these things. And that is our treasure letter. Remember, when you need a moment where you're feeling maybe angry or sad or just not feeling right, to remember to choose joy. You can hang this anywhere. You can hang this on your fridge. You can hang it in your room. Hang it somewhere where you're going to see it and that you can have that moment to take that time to remember to choose love. Okay? So, my friends, that is Advent week 4. The next time we see each other through camera, it'll be Christmas time. It'll be after Christmas. Jesus will be born, and we'll have a whole new set of experiences to have and things to learn. When Jesus was born, God was doing a new thing. And so this is just the beginning. It's just the beginning of seeing what things God has in store for us. So my friends, I'm going to close this out with a prayer. And I hope that you all have a really, really wonderful Christmas time. I hope that you get to spend time with people that you love and that you get to spend time doing things that bring you joy, that bring you peace, and that you would share those things that we have learned of love and hope and peace and joy with those around you. Okay, let's pray. Loving God, thank you for loving each one of us, no matter what. God, sometimes choosing love is hard, especially when we feel anxious or we feel frustrated. I pray that you would give us the courage to open our hearts and choose love even when it's not easy, just as Mary and Joseph did on that night when baby Jesus was born. Thank you so much for these lessons we have learned, for the gifts of hope and love and peace and joy that you have given us. And help us to have full hearts to go out and share those things with others. Amen. All right, my friends. Merry Christmas, and I'll see you soon.